This is Drutter, June 3rd, 2020, and this is a food-related video, so I wanted to start off by showing you some of my food. That's my garlic, and a few green onion, and then my lettuce over here. It's doing well. Had a salad yesterday. Though I am an accomplished tomato gardener, this year has been a struggling start. I started inside and transferred outside, I think maybe just a week early, and it's taken them a while to bounce back, but they are now coming back. I have 8 or so tomato plants out here. And I got some bush beans. I think they'll be yellow wax style beans. They're coming up. The peas came up along the shed here. Grandma would be happy about that. Should do some sweet peas too, flowers. But these will be edible peas, and looks like they need something to hang on to, so I'm going to build a trellis or something out of string for them to climb up. Freaking rhubarb. I only have a couple cucumber plants, and they're not very big yet. So I don't know, I'm going to have to work on the soil, I think, for next year. I think they like a bit more mulch, bit better drainage. There's the squash. I have 5 of these squash plants. Here's a couple. Thought they would be bigger too, but I guess it is only just the start of June, so there's plenty of time for that. The weeds are starting to get pretty scruffy though. Oh, this side of the house just keeps getting more and more bushy. I'll get to it soon. And I don't think my potatoes are coming up. I made my own seed potatoes this year, but that turned out to be a mistake because I guess I didn't know what I was doing. So basically I just fertilized this with a bunch of potatoes. And now they'll rot, and I'll properly plant some proper seed potatoes in there next spring, I guess. Or maybe I'll try a summer crop of potatoes if I can get my hands on some. That basil's kind of pathetic, and the oregano is a no-go. And the rose bush is growing and looking good. No aphids or anything. I think we will have some roses on here soon. And all signs point to a good raspberry harvest here. I haven't really cultivated my own raspberry bush this size before. Worked with a lot smaller, so I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but I do see a lot of flowers, and I do even see some small green raspberries on here in some spots, so that's looking good. And as it is day 80, and I've been in quarantine now for 2 quarantines, I guess you could say, I'm going to, as I did on day 40, read out all of the quarantine diary titles that have happened so far as a bit of a summary. I hope I'm not doing this again at day 120, but anyway, here we go. Canadian coronavirus quarantine diary. Isolating together. Leaving quarantine to find food. Shops, restaurants, and banks shutting down. Cash no longer being accepted. Am I infected? We may never pay with cash again. Empty shelves with total lockdown coming. A good day. Canada is now a totalitarian state. Illness and societal change sweep the planet. Food shortages and service outages coming. Debunking no piles of bodies means virus is fake. Antibody test coming. 1 million deaths this month at current rate. Accelerating in BC. Nutrient shortages predicted as cannabis declared non-essential. Growing food and medicine in lockdown. Food and gold prices soaring in Canada. Lockdown in a construction zone. This video has been deemed non-essential. Canada destroys food to raise prices during a shortage. Canada prepares for martial law. It's time to plan the end of lockdown. Fed sends gold soaring. Have deaths peaked? COVID-19 was an inside job. Lockdown is all about controlling people, not the virus. A new world order takes shape. Time to reopen. Exciting antibody research. Most of us already had it. 40 days and nights. Negative price for oil, milk, tulip bulbs, and lives. It's ridiculous how ridiculous it's getting. Canadian potato shortage and glut. Canadian gun ban. Hiding potential treatments. Fascism is the new normal. Greater depression. Family or state. The curve has flattened. Not going back to how it was. USA is dramatically inflating their coronavirus numbers. Cannabinoids appear to block COVID-19 infection. Global financial governance. Masks, testing, and tracking. Medicine patch update. Half of us don't believe the official COVID-19 story. Trudeau submits to globalist masters. Silver and cannabinoids destroy COVID-19. And society isn't cashless yet. Note that some of these videos aren't available on YouTube due to censorship of cannabis and other topics. And from CNN, the official state news outlet of the US government, a food article that really applies to all purchases, not just restaurants. So in my summary, I've changed a few phrases to be less specific, and I dropped a couple paragraphs because they just weren't very interesting. It's called, "When we go back, more of us will pay with our phones." Major companies are making it easier for customers to buy food, or anything, without touching anything but their own devices. It's a trend that started before the pandemic hit and has only accelerated as consumers and businesses adjust to the new normal, where contact with others is forbidden. Now, restaurants are betting people will peruse digital menus, order online through their device, and pay with an app instead of cash or a credit card. Quote, "The handling of cash creates consumer concerns about the spread of viruses," Starbucks CEO wrote in an open letter describing the company's plan to reopen. He noted that Starbucks is adding new features to its app to include voice ordering through Siri and more rewards, and predicted the mobile app will become the dominant form of payment. That's disturbing, but probably correct. That's been the plan of the technocrats since before smart devices were even available, long before they were available or even thought of. I think maybe they were even sort of encouraged or developed specifically for enslaving people with this cashless society that's coming, or if not completely, that was definitely one of the motivations for them. And note how the Starbucks CEO said customers are concerned that cash spreads the coronavirus, but he was careful not to claim that cash is actually how it spreads. And customers think that cash is dangerous because the media has been dropping that hint nonstop, and that's really all that matters. Customers think that cash is dangerous, so it's happening. There are other chains encouraging customers to make use of digital apps. The CEO of Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons says the companies have expanded mobile order and pay capabilities to help make sure it is increasingly contactless, and it has made delivery available for customers who pay with the app. Olive Garden is asking customers to use mobile pay as part of reopening. Mobile apps are a boon to restaurant chains. They provide a line of communication with customers, allowing companies to promote products directly, learn about customers' purchasing habits, and encourage loyalty with rewards. Plus, people who use apps tend to spend more. People stuck at home can't pay for things with cash, which has sent digital sales through the roof. Oh, that is true. You cannot pay for things with cash at home, not just because of the obvious reason that you can't send cash instantly through the air, but when you get delivery now, they are not accepting cash. Most corporations anyway, Panago and a lot of the major chains that deliver food do not take cash at the door now. And they say that like it's news or like it wasn't the plan all along. One of the main goals of the lockdown was very clearly to wean us of the last of our dependence on cash. Digital orders in the first 3 months of the year almost doubled, our highest ever, Chipotle told CNN. With dining rooms closed, we see a limited number of cash payments, and they're not accepting cash at all in many areas. So they're refusing cash, or refusing most cash, and then they say, wow, our customers are paying with the app more than ever. Well, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you've ever seen one, isn't it? And it says, for companies like Starbucks and Chipotle, mobile orders are a way to speed up sales. Plus, people who order digitally usually spend about 20 to 30% more, said an expert. Apps help brands gather information about their customers. When you get somebody to pay digitally or order digitally, you capture their name and usually their address, their email, etc. It's easier to market to them because you know when they come in and how much they typically spend. But some totally different experts caution that consumers should be wary of sharing data in exchange for convenience. Ooh, these sound like slightly smarter experts, but not all that smart. Features such as location tracking could result in more targeted ads. For instance, customers may get an advertisement as they walk past a restaurant. Wow, is that really all the criticism you can have about this? You totally different experts. A few years ago, Burger King let app users buy a 1-cent Whopper when they drove within 600 feet of a McDonald's. It was a way for the chain to poke fun at its rival while also getting people to use the Burger King app. And then at this point in the article, there is a related article that says, Dirty Money, the case against cash. And it goes on, people have been wary of mobile ordering in the past, said another expert. Quote, one of the reasons is some consumers just didn't find the value in it, he said. Credit cards and debit cards and cash were working just fine. The pandemic might drive more people to pay for things with apps, he noted, explaining that the ability to order easily ahead or to pay without contact is a new type of value proposition in a post-COVID world. An April survey by Ipsos found 1 in 6 respondents said they are using less cash now than they did before the pandemic. About 31% said that they plan to use mobile wallet payments rather than cash moving forward. Altogether, 45% said they are already using a mobile wallet to make payments. The United States isn't about to go cashless anytime soon. Not everyone has a bank account, and not everyone who does wants to use a mobile app. So there's like a small line of logic, that is something that could have been discovered a long time ago. We know that not everyone wants to use mobile apps. I'm one of them. I will not use mobile apps. I don't have a smart device. I never have and I never will, and I've said that many times. I just won't. I have a phone that sits at home. It's attached to the wall. And so, they say we're not about to go cashless anytime soon, but that isn't what they were saying the last time they were talking about the cashless society in these kind of articles. A few years ago they were saying, don't be silly, we're not going cashless. That's conspiracy theory stuff. Now they're saying we're not going cashless anytime soon. Because not everyone has a bank account, and not everyone who does wants to use a mobile app. Well, I don't have a bank account, and I don't want to use a mobile app. I've never used a smart device. And I don't have and won't have a bank account. So I can't go cashless. So they're saying not everyone's going to go cashless. Yeah, some people simply can't and won't. I can't and won't at the same time. And then it says, fast food chains especially don't want to alienate those customers. And that's true. Fast food chains, at least half their business is in cash. They just really, really don't want to stop taking cash. And I think that is one of the reasons that it's not happening yet. It's not officially happening yet. They were talking about it. We were going to go to a cashless society. During this pandemic, that was the plan. And a lot of places even have. But cash is not completely being removed from society. It is still being allowed, and the CNN article is kind of a little bit of an announcement of that. It says, when retailers tried to ditch cash in the past, they faced opposition from critics who argued that the policy discriminated against unbanked customers. And you think, and it says, cities across the country have introduced legislation banning cashless stores. This is just certain cities, of course, but And some retailers that tried to go completely cash-free have reversed the decision. So when people tried it, some businesses tried it, they weren't able to do it because their customers wouldn't allow it, essentially, is what you get reading between the lines. And that is the end of the article. But so people have pushed back, and some people, like myself and like a lot of my listeners, will not use anything but cash unless there is no other way. There's certain things that we now have to pay with things other than cash, but a lot of us are hanging on to cash and saying we're not going to allow it to be pushed completely out of our lives, because once everything has gone digital, once that last dollar goes digital onto a computer, then there is no privacy. There's no at all anything that's anonymous in any way. And even people who aren't doing anything wrong deserve to be anonymous or to have privacy if they choose to. And that is how society has always worked. And a lot of us think that's how it should work going forward as well, even if there is this new virus in the world, another virus to worry about, yes, but we will not necessarily go cashless just because of that. And the pushback, thank you to everybody who is pushing back, because it is you who has done it. Every dollar you have spent in cash has made a difference. Everything is calculated. And they're calculating it down to the exact percentage of people who are switching over from cash, and it's only going in one direction. People are leaving cash and they're going toward cashless payments, digital payments, apps, smart devices. And clearly they've tried to use this crisis to go cashless, but there's just not enough support. And there's been a major loss of ability to pay in cash. Some places aren't taking it. Some places are taking it reluctantly, or certain denominations are not accepted, or not taking change, or whatever. Not taking bills over a certain size. There's all kinds of restrictions. But the technocrats can't declare a full victory just yet. And another thing I want to mention about the article is there was no mention that copper and silver are antiviral. And I'll put down below great brand new research about copper. For some reason they're not really researching silver, even though it is just as antiviral and antibacterial as copper is, but they seem to focus on copper for some reason. Maybe it's because it's cheaper and you can put it on larger surfaces, but the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that something about silver is not being mentioned, because silver, I think, is probably is a silver bullet, really, against COVID-19, and I've done videos on that have been heavily censored on YouTube. But anyway, copper specifically kills COVID-19, just dead like kryptonite to Superman instantly. It's amazing how good copper is. And without damaging or using up the copper in any way, and without risking any health to humans or animals, it is simply it's like perfect. It's perfect. So, and copper, of course, is cheap, and you can't patent the use of copper surfaces. So, there's no incentive really to develop this, or for there to be any fanfare about it, or in fact there is some incentive in order to keep it kind of quiet, so you aren't hearing really that copper kills coronavirus specifically. And so does silver. Colloidal silver is amazing against this. And so there's permanent protection available from the coronavirus, and a lot more things too, with copper and silver surfaces and colloidal silver and copper. So money used to be made out of it, silver and copper, and it still could be, but no mention of that. No mention. This is an article about COVID-19 and about money, but they didn't mention an obvious connection between the two, which is that money, which used to be silver and copper, kills the virus. So we could have money that directly kills the virus, but no, we're talking about how money is a risk, because now we've changed our money, or our currency anyway, to plastic. Little plastic rectangles. So no mention of that at all. And no mention of crypto, which is also contactless. It doesn't transmit COVID-19. And it has a lot of added value propositions, if you want to use that phrase, like being decentralized and most of it having some privacy or anonymity built into it, and not involving governments or banks. But that's probably why it wasn't mentioned on CNN. And just before I go, one last disturbing little article, Canada just ordered and announced that they ordered 37 million vaccine syringes. A specific number, not 27, not 47, but 37 million vaccine syringes. And 37.8 or something million people just happens to be how many people are currently in Canada. So, and that's not a coincidence, and they're not even denying that. If you read the article, it says the government has announced, yes, this is for vaccines. This is to give the vaccine. They say we don't want to be left out, like with masks, and everyone else bought masks, and Canada didn't get their masks in time. We don't want to be left out like that. So we're getting our vaccine syringes now for when the vaccine's ready to give to our people. So, as I mentioned the other day, the plan is for everyone to be vaccinated. And I think I'll just leave it there after 80 days. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for your support. Talk to you again soon. Stay well.